I am starting the show. What would my daddy say? One of those days, but here I am. Haha. So, somebody call. And until I get a call, I'm just going to talk about stuff. And oh, there's a caller right there. Here we go. First call. Hello, how are you? Great. Wait, hang on one second. I can't quite hear you. Hang on. Is this okay? Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Hello, caller.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, how are you?
Good. This is Shay calling in. How are you doing?
Doing fine, doing fine. So, what's
Good.
going on? What's going on in your world?
Man, talk about what would my daddy say with my situation and lifestyle choices. I tell you, I think he'd be pretty upset.
Uh-oh, what did you do? Tell Daddy all about it.
I guess being in my 30s and actually having a child with someone in their 50s that was set in their ways and
Hey, I'm 50. There's nothing wrong
come to
with
find out.
50. You got to get the right 50. 50's good. See, at 50, if we're going to grow up, we've grown up. If we're not going to grow up, then we're a hopeless case forever. So you got to, 50's good.
Right, right. Well, it's like you say, it's when you grow up. You can be a certain age, but not necessarily grown up.
Exactly, exactly.
You know.
So tell me about it. What's going on?
Well, I like my son's dad is 56 and much older than me, 23 years old myself, and I found him to be, I guess, immature in many ways when it came to take care of the child, almost not wanting to take care of the child.
Okay, your phone's kind of staticky. I don't know if it's someplace moving around, but anyway, I can kind of hear you. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and being in a ongoing relationship in the last year, he never helped me with the child, never did anything. And our son is almost 4 years old. And just as of the 25th of January, he opted to move in with another woman and her two kids and applied to the court for full legal and physical custody, never took care of the child.
Oh, ouch, you did all that?
Yep.
Wow.
In his just because that was his response to me just asking for child support. He decided to go in for the jugular and take it all.
So instead of doing what he's supposed to do, he just wants to take it all just to be spiteful.
Right, just spitefulness.
Okay. So what's your question?
So my question is, what could you give someone basically taking care of the child his whole life with absolutely little to no help from the other parent, but now the other parent's pulling to have his visitations within the new relationship son, and our son is being physically abused and mentally and emotionally abused.
So wait. What do you mean when you say physically and emotionally abused? What's going on there? That's a whole different component besides money.
Right. He's been staying for overnight visits, and he comes back home singing songs, saying, "I don't like you. You're bad."
I'm sorry, you broke up. Say that again, please. You have a really bad
Home
connection.
from his last visit, saying he didn't like me singing a song. The lyrics were, "I don't like you. I don't like you. You're a bad mommy, and you're a demon and a monster."
Really?
And this is what he told me.
Wait,
He's
how
almost 4
did-
years old. Told me that he's learning at his dad's house.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
And historically, the child has always gone to daycare and daycare facilities and babysitters, and he's never called and said, "Mommy, I want to come home." He's never done anything like that. But now, all of a sudden, now that we're starting these visitations in the last 2 months, back home with negative thoughts, when I call him, he's saying, "Mommy, please come get me. Come get me."
That's distressing. You actually have me stressed out. Wow. Ooh. Okay, so that's complicated. When you have an adversarial parent, so just to get a clearer picture, the let me see if I can beat you down for a bit. Okay. Put your phone on mute for a moment.
Sure.
Okay, now that all the noise is cleared up. Sorry about the noise of her connection. Basically, what she said is she was in a relationship with a man who's 56 and she's in her early 30s. She had a son. The man never did anything to really take care of the child for 4 years. And now when she goes to get child support, he has become an adversarial parent. And he went to get full legal and physical custody just to be adversarial. So now, when the child goes to visit the father, he comes home singing a song of some sort where he's saying he hates his mother and she's a demon and he doesn't like her. And to add to that, he calls and says he wants to go home. What do you do? Wow. Um, Unfortunately, there's not a clean answer when you have an adversarial parent. That's one of the things that really pains me, and I hear it so often. I mean, children go through this game for 18 years where one parent has it in bad for the other parent and makes sure that everything about their existence is to punish that other parent. Um, the problem with that is there's almost no way that that child can survive that without some type of damage. They're going to be hurt. They buy into what the father's saying. For some reason, whoever is the perpetrator of the damage is actually cleaved to a little closer and believed a little more for some strange reason. It's something about the way we're wired. We seem to accept dysfunction as real, and the things that are good and pleasant, we don't take them in quite as readily. It's almost like we need fresh vegetables and clean water and clean air. We want to smoke and eat sugar, butter, and fat. What we want and what we need are two different things. So you're going to have to really work double time because the courts are not easily going to allow you to not have the father in the child's life. The court system seems to be geared to help assist the rogue parent in making everybody's life miserable. I don't know why. There are men who are trying to see their children, and no matter what they do, they can't see their children. Courts won't help them. Mother won't help them. Nobody helps them. Get a guy who wants to be a straight jackass. He seems to walk through and get anything he wants. Just make your life miserable until the kid is 18, and then he'll still keep going after that. Boy. So, what do you do when you have a out of control adversarial parent? One of the things you're going to have to do is be really patient, pray a lot, and make sure that you overcompensate in any way you can on the other side. You can't fight fire with fire because that doesn't win. The child has to grow up and eventually see who's doing who, and they will. That game doesn't last forever. He'll start to see it in time. Don't fight the father in front of him because he'll start to lean to the father's side. Don't get into a cussing and hollering and screaming match. Try to meet your son's needs emotionally and whatever else he's going through as best as you can. Boy, that's a hard one. One thing that will be important is good, positive male energy. Unmute your phone for a moment.
I'm here.
Okay. Is the father doing anything that's positive or valuable in your son's life? Is there an upside to his presence?
The upside is that I guess when it comes to like working in film and television, he does support that as well as he rides horses with his dad. So he does support those things.
So he gets some quality father-son time in.
Yes.
Okay. So that's something. It's not all bad.
Right.
The main thing that you have to understand is that man wants to punish you. And sometimes it's a woman that wants to punish the man. But in this case, you have a man that wants to punish you. Anything you do that gives him satisfaction that his punishment is effective is going to only fuel his fire. You got to go numb. You've got to act like whatever. When he says stuff, don't respond to it. Smile. Act like no matter how much it may hurt inside, it completely doesn't faze you. Do not get roped into playing his game. If you play his game by the rules that he set, you're going to lose because he stayed up day and night trying to figure out how to piss you off. His only satisfaction is pissing you off. If it doesn't work, it's not fun anymore. And once you are immune to one way that he pisses you off, he will try to find another because he wants you pissed off. I don't know why idiots act like that, whether they're male or female. Both genders do it, but that's what he's doing. You have to go into Zen mode. Whenever you know you're going over there, there's nothing he can say that will bother you. If he starts ranting and raving and saying really stupid stuff, just stand and smile and just say, I'll listen for a while. Let me know when you're finished, and me and my son are going. When your son comes home with these songs, have him sing it. Write down the words. Analyze them. Figure out what you can say to help him to see that a little bit different. Explain to him what those words mean and that is not a good song. And reason with him. Say, look, Mommy. I've been here ever since you were born. Who feeds you? Mommy. Who gives you a bath? Mommy. Who do you see almost every day? Mommy. Who takes you to school? Mommy. So then how is Mommy these things that you're singing? He'll probably say you're not. At that time, you can tell him that it's really not nice to sing those words, regardless of who taught them to you, and that it hurts Mommy's feelings. Empower him with responsibility for what he's saying. Because ultimately, you two have to work together to keep your sanity and to keep his sanity and his stability. In time, if you don't fight with this man, he'll get tired, and hopefully he will start to mature with time. But it sounds like at 56, he probably won't mature much. Not like he's 26, so he's a career idiot, a lifetime idiot. I'm going to take this moment to do a sidebar. Women, you have got to do a better job of vetting your men. The best solution is not to lay down with an idiot. Once you have an idiot, it's like a herpes. It ain't going away. You may have a day where people can't tell you have a herpes because it looks pretty good that day, but it's still a herpes on your lip. You have a human herpes who's attached itself to your life to make you miserable. These mistakes happen, and it's not about beating anybody up for making the mistake. Unless you make the mistake a second, a third, and a fourth time, then I'm going to kick your behind because you should have learned from the first one. You're going through this. It's not going to stop. You just have to, I'm in it to win it, and look for every opportunity you can to navigate this cesspool of drama for your son the best way you can to keep him healthy. And that will never be to go toe-to-toe in an argument with the father. There's no winner there. Definitely not your child. I know ego, pride, feelings, emotions all come into play. Just can't do it. Can't do it. And you have to be the peacekeeper and look for every way to make the stability. Now, the fact that he has a father there, he will get some good lessons just because his father's a man. Even a bad father can actually teach a child good lessons. They teach them about their physicality. You said he has a career in the entertainment industry, so he'll probably pick up some of that stuff from him, and horses and all these other things. He will also, in time, start to see what parts of his father he doesn't want to be. I was raised by my father. Really great guy for the most part. But I also looked at him and saw the parts I did not want to be that are like my father. Some of them I am a little bit, but I'm managing it because I'm aware of it. I know what it looks like when he did it. They're not horrific things, just certain personality traits. I saw what my father did right as a husband and a father. I saw what he did wrong. There are things that I can honestly say that I don't think my father should have done with my mother. I think he took the wrong course of action in how to deal with certain things that he could have alleviated the pressure and the drama by just dealing with it with a little more sensitivity. I actually learned that by watching my father mess up. I would see him and say, nah, that ain't going to work good. And sure enough, it didn't work good. He got nagged for 8 hours. And he could have avoided it by stepping off the ego and saying, what do I need to diffuse this situation so this can go better? Sometimes we let our ego, our pride, our feelings, and our emotions get in the way of the best course of action. You have to, as of this day forward, Always look for the course of least resistance. And no matter what this idiot does, he will not rattle me. I'm going to keep my nose clean. I'm going to get a perfect score while I'm raising my son and not get roped into playing his game. There's some things he's going to do where you may have to have the courts intervene. You know, if you have God in your heart, you may need to pray. And sometimes you just need to be patient. Love your son through it and unravel the damage in your own house. And that's about the best you can do when you have a bona fide adversarial idiot parent who's 56 years old, who will remain an idiot until he dies at 80. I wish I could say more, but that's about it. Another important thing is sometimes a stepfather is the best thing a child ever had, or a stepmother. There are some people that when you meet the right person, and from this point on, looking for a man that you want to deal with is not a man that's right for you, it's a man that's right for both of you. When you get the right man, you know, I was a stepfather when I was married. And I love those kids like they were mine. You could not tell the difference in any stretch. Those were my kids. When you find the right man and he respects you and he models love correctly in front of your son will start to see you in a different light and be like, what is daddy talking about? And he'll see how you're respected here and hear daddy say disrespectful things, and he will start to resent daddy and his disrespectful mouth. That will happen in time. So as you go forward in life, just keep your spirit and your energy open to someone who can model better manhood for your son. So he'll just have two daddies, one loving one and one who's only marginally useful, but useful in some ways. And that's the real of it. I hope that helped. You still there? Yeah, no? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Well, I hope that helped. And was that pretty much what you needed? Hello? All right. Well,
Yep.
okay, great. Well, thank you for calling. And
Thank you for having me on.
Okay, thank you for calling.
All right.
Goodbye. Wow. That's rough. Ooh, that was a rough call. Which mic are you? Which channel? 2? White one? Oh, let's see. I got somebody in the studio who wants to step in and say something.
How you doing, Tim?
What's your name?
My name is Van Eric Marshall.
Van Marshall. I just met Van Eric.
Yes, of the Van Eric Rock Show.
Van Eric Rock Show.
Yes. I like this topic because I had to deal with my daughter's mother and her issues because I was awarded full custody of my daughter.
Oh, were you?
Yes, when she was 5 years old. And I'm not going to mention the name, but the mother of my child has a control issue. If she's not in control, she's very uncomfortable and everybody's around. And like you said, don't talk bad about the other parent, so I never did. And now my daughter's 23, and she sees for herself what type of mother she has, with some of the good points, but that part of her, she sees for herself what I had to go through to have to deal with that.
So let me dig in and ask some questions. The show is What Would My Daddy Say? So we have a daddy over here, a good daddy. Now, there's a new trend. I've been hearing it a lot more men than I've ever heard are being awarded full custody. The system is starting to crack a little bit, and they're finally realizing some of these mothers are trifling, and they are not the one who has the best interest of the child in heart. Some of them are a little loose around the booty area. Some of them are all about fun and good time and complete irresponsibility. They neglect their children. Some, we're not talking about all, so don't you ladies start saying I said all women anything. No, some. I'm talking about the ones who do, not the ones who don't. But the ones who do, they've been physically abusing their children, verbally abusing. I mean, the number one death of children in the United States of America, this country, is infanticide by their mothers. Believe it or not, look it up. beating them to death, starving them to death, throwing them in the microwave, throwing them out the car, throwing the car in the ocean. They're frustrated. It's too much pressure. They weren't designed to be the mother and the father like they think they can be. Now, even though some women do a great job, you will never be the mother and the father. You're a double dose of really good mother. But a father is a whole different kind of being. And even when you're a great mother, the greatest mothers make sure that their children have some male energy because they need to have a balance. They can't grow up, whether they're male or female, with just one energy. Now, fathers, I have never personally met a child raised by a single father that wasn't an exemplary person. I haven't met him. Here's why. New research shows that after the age of 3, the father becomes the primary parent when the child is weaned from the mother's breast. The father sets guidance, discipline, he gives them courage, he introduces them to the world a whole different way. What a single father shows a boy is what a man is. I'm a man, your mother, here, we're not going to deal with what happened, wherever she is, she's going through what she's going through, but here, I'm here, and we're going to do this. I'm going to make sure that when my job is done, you know how to present yourself to the world as a man. What he shows a girl is I am the gold standard for what you are to see as a man. You ain't bringing no junk home like your girlfriends who didn't have no daddy because
Right.
I'm setting a standard
Right.
for you to say, oh, no, my daddy, no, you're not going to treat me like that.
Exactly, because a lot of men don't realize, some of them don't realize, but we are, when we have daughters, we are our daughter's first boyfriend.
Yes.
So wherever we are, what type of man we are, 9 times out of 10, somewhere in that little boy that she likes, she sees us.
Absolutely.
Whether it's positive or negative or a combination of both. That's why that saying is most dads don't like the boys that their daughters bring home because somewhere she must see him in us,
Yeah.
to a certain extent. So, yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I admire and respect men that will, it's funny. I had posted something on Facebook and I was talking positively about fathers. I got this backlash from a woman and actually a man of all things saying, why are you always trying to make the father seem like the more important parent? Why are you always building up men, blah, blah, blah? Let's look at this. I was born in 1959. Most families had a father in it. And we didn't have the social issues that we're dealing with right now. Now, when 85% of the black homes don't have the father in the house, we're dealing with a whole new set of social issues. I have come to this very interesting science. I can look at a female and tell you if she had a father in her life or not. I can see it as plain as day. The ones who had a father dress more conservatively. They have a different energy with men. They seem comfortable. They seem to like them, and they seem to understand them. They are not as hungry as far as always trying to do anything, even hold themselves out to get the male energy.
Yeah.
And they smile more. And the other ones, not so much. So obviously, a father like you, I'm sure if I met your daughter, I'd be impressed with her as a person.
Thank you, Tim, because at the age of 5, I taught my daughter that boys walk on the outside, girls walk on the inside. And I would deliberately walk out of a building on the wrong side. And this 5-year-old girl would say, Daddy, you're on the wrong side. So and she'll be 23 tomorrow. And if you're a male and you walking down the street, 9 times out of 10, she's like, you need to be on the outside when you're walking down the street with me. Sometimes she may be a product of her environment because she's with her mother right at the moment. So that's another issue. But yeah, I was able to be successful because I was consistent as a parent with my daughter. The system told me that I had to associate with other single parents, which was over 90% women.
Really?
Yes.
Well, why did they tell you that?
Well, no, they didn't say women. They said
why they say you had to associate with other single parents?
Well, this way I can get a general idea of how they can.
How often did you have to? Was it like a monthly thing or?
No. Well, they left it up to my own discretion.
Okay.
They just suggested that I
should.
Okay. Yeah, that I should do that. I know I'm a male. I'm not a female, so I know that there's certain things that I don't know about. So I surrounded myself with positive black women, or just with women anyway.
Did you spend most of that time raising her with a woman in your life,
No.
or just you and her?
It was just me and her majority
Did
of
you
the time.
allow other women to be around her?
Yes, because for certain health reasons, physical reasons,
Did you date much or not really?
not that much. Because, and that's another issue, because like when I did allow a woman in our lives, and I invited them over, my daughter be sitting in the front room in either her favorite chair or on the floor. To just have my daughter see me hugged up with a woman is giving the wrong image.
That's interesting. Okay, let me
You know what I
address that. I have a lot of feelings about that. I can respect that. There's still a balance that can be struck. I've heard a lot of women say, I'm not going to let another man around my child. I don't want them to see this. I don't want them to see that until they're grown and out the house. There's one thing about that I feel is a little flawed, because the child needs to see that interaction between a male and a female, because that's their
Exactly.
practice period.
Exactly.
They need to see you get it right, and they need to see you get it wrong. Now, being overtly physical in front of a child is not necessary. There's a time when they do go to bed, of course.
Yeah, but what I mean by when I did have a female over, she'd be sitting like on one side of the room,
yeah.
and I'm sitting on the other, and conversing.
Okay.
Like a family would
Like family. Okay, yeah,
like
yeah,
a family
yeah.
supposed to converse,
Right.
and things like that. Those the type of thing, and I didn't want her to see different women coming in and out all the time.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing either.
Right. And you have to use taste, but children do need to learn about the courting dance, the courting rituals, and the love games, and they need to see, okay, daddy found somebody he likes, mama found somebody she likes, and what do I think of this person? And they're looking, and they're kind of like, they're along for the ride.
Exactly.
And you don't want to, like I said, do a bunch of unnecessary physical stuff in front of them and scandalous stuff or over frequency. But I feel it is okay and healthy. Like, remember the courtship of Eddie's father?
Yeah.
That boy's along for the ride. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm trying to help daddy daddy needs to be married.
Yeah.
And they understand, because they know that they have a mother, and the mother may do as she does, but they understand that you're supposed to be with somebody. They don't mind, providing you make them comfortable and secure,
Exactly.
and you handle things the right way.
Exactly.
But I'm not saying you cut off completely. I'm just using this as an example, because some
exactly.
people just will not see anybody, and that's just it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not good,
No,
because
no.
the children can't learn anything. Then when they get out, they're vulnerable, they're stupid, they don't know nothing about nothing. Everybody can walk right over them because they don't understand.
Exactly, because my daughter would let me know and let that person know if she felt comfortable. Because I dated this one woman, and you could tell the difference between a daughter being jealous of another woman in their space than somebody that she just don't like because
Right.
of certain vibes. And at this particular female, my daughter did not feel comfortable.
How old was she?
She was like 7, 8 at this time.
Okay.
And she did not feel comfortable around this woman.
How
So
long were you involved with that woman?
I would say about 2 months.
2 months. Okay.
Yeah, it took me 2 months to realize, what she said. So I was like, okay, let me end this because something must not be right with this.
Right.
And so that was just one instant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's important. I mean, you still have a life, and you can't turn it off. And I was married. I'm divorced, and now my sons spend half of the week with me and half the week with their mother. We both have 3.5 days a week.
Okay.
It works out fine. Their mother's engaged. She's getting married, and I also have to find the right woman so I can model proper manhood as a husband, as a father to my sons. They have the whole experience, so they have a close to a nuclear family.
Right.
We have to grandmother a new mother in, and they have a new father on the other side, so they'll get 2 sets of parents. And I know their mother's a great parent. I'm a great parent, and she picked a great guy, and I'm going to pick a great woman. So they'll have 2 separate experiences, and there's no drama between us. So our job is, when it doesn't work out, how can we make it the best we can for our children? Unlike the idiot that the
Right.
caller
Yeah.
unfortunately made a child with.
Yes.
So your daughter, how does she do dating wise? What does she bring home?
Well, again, because
I know
I'm
it's
from
not much to pick from.
no, yeah, I know because understand this. I'm from the East Coast,
Mhm.
so she's back over there.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
Yeah, she's over there on the East Coast.
So you have custody, but she's still.
Well, no, not even, this is C23 now. I was talking
Oh, okay,
about when,
yeah,
yeah,
when you
yeah,
had custody,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, when I had custody.
How old was she when she left?
She was like 11, 12.
11 when she 12 when she left you,
Yeah,
even though you had custody.
yeah. She wanted to live with her mom.
She wanted to live with her mother.
Yeah,
You let her.
Yeah, I let her. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because
So why did you get custody over the mother?
well, because at that time the mother was going through some changes, and I was with my daughter's mother for 2 years before I stepped off. I had no support from the mother, things like that. I would leave for work in the morning, and she would have people over the house, and the same people when I left for work was there when I got home.
Okay.
There was that kind of atmosphere. So
how did it feel to send your daughter to that same woman? Did she grow up or?
Yeah. It's gotten a little better.
Okay.
I stepped off and for a year. When I came back, that's when I found out my daughter was in children's services.
Wait, so after you let your daughter live with
This was before I got. I'm going back before
you got the custody. So the mother had her, and then your daughter ended up in child services, and you went and got her.
Yeah.
So it was easy to get her from that point.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I was just listening to you earlier during your show and what you were saying about the court system and all that. I was unaware that the court system would make it as easy to obtain custody if I did the right thing, because again, the mother's not always capable of living with, taking care, being consistent with the child or children, and some of the foster parents.
They can be a nightmare, man.
It could be a nightmare as well.
They think that they go and get little sex toys sometime. I mean, these foster parents, some of the stuff I hear is crazy.
It's crazy.
Their kids abuse their foster brothers and sisters. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
yeah. So when when I found out that my daughter was in the system, I let them know where I was at.
And there's some good foster parents.
Yeah, they are because they told me what I needed to do to get custody, and I was always on time with my weekly or monthly visits, my weekly visits. And
how long did you have to go through this process before you could take custody?
I would say about 3 months, 4 months at the most.
They were testing you out. Okay.
Yeah, of course. And there's strict rules. You're not allowed to call the foster parents. You're not allowed to know where they at, anything like that. So when it was time for me to leave, my daughter would show insecurities by sticking her thumb in her mouth and playing with her ear because she thought I wasn't coming back. So I talked to the woman who was handling my case and say, is there any way that I can ensure my daughter that she will see me again? So evidently in their meetings, they came up with the idea of letting me call my daughter, which was very rare.
Wow.
And
that's nice.
Yeah, so I would call her in between visits, and it showed an improvement on her part, on my daughter's part. She was no longer feeling insecure and abandoned.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was on the front page. My daughter and I, they did an article about me and my daughter and I, me being a successful parent when in custody, because it's not too many. Because I represented a lot of males.
Wow.
And black men.
Right. You're supposed to be a no good daddy. You're supposed to be
a
guy that nobody knows where he is.
Exactly. So it gave children's services to show the media that it can work.
You became the poster black man.
I came the poster black man.
So what you just heard is you heard from a man who stepped up. All this black men are no good. They don't take care of their kids, their dogs. Yes. Lots and lots and lots of them are. When I say things about black women, I always get chastised for saying all black women. When I say black women, I didn't say all, I just said black women. I've learned to say, when I remember, some black women, not all. But not all of anything is anything. But for some reason, when black women want to speak about black men and how they feel about them, they never, ever, ever, ever say something. Ever. Not once. Never, ever. They just say black men, no good, dogs, none of them. So, in the name of equality, We have to realize there are good black men, and thank you very much for sitting in with me. There are good black men that do step up and do things that even some black mothers don't handle correctly. And we just heard from one of them, and we need more men like that. Let me get another caller. Can I have another caller? What does somebody want to know from the Daddy Tim? Please, somebody call in. The number is on the screen. We need more men to step up. This is a twofold problem. There were two parties involved in making the problem. One was irresponsible. Both were irresponsible. Just because you're irresponsible when you're 20, when you're 26 or 27 or 28 or 30, it doesn't mean you can't go back and try to fix it. You can always go back and try to fix some of the damage that you did in your child's life, because that child never stops needing you just because you messed up in their earlier days. Men, it doesn't matter if it's not your child. If you are involved with the woman, she may be gorgeous, she may have the body of Bam, whatever it is about this woman that just makes you feel like she's the one, and she has a kid. No, that's not her shorty. That's not her kid. If you plan to really make a meaningful, lasting relationship with that woman, you have to step in and provide some daddying. Women, when you have men in your life and their fathers aren't acting right and they want to spend some quality daddying time, help work to make that happen, but monitor. Here's the tricky part. A lot of men, and women too, they can do some pretty wicked stuff. There's some child molestation going on. What people don't know is a lot of the people that they're taking into their life were molested as a child. And most molesters were molested. And most people that molest were molested as a child. It sticks with them and they pass it forward. So as you're allowing somebody into your child's life, don't be blind. Be very diligent in how you look. Give them the benefit of the doubt, but watch closely. Look for anything that feels odd. Look for a change in your child's behavior. Look for sneaky things like, why did they get out of bed late at night, not come back for a while, every night? Well, where are you going? Bathroom? You going to get something to eat? What's going on? You got to be doing something. So, watch those things. I don't know how. I know a woman who was molested from 4 years old to 18 by her stepfather. 14 years? And mama didn't notice anything was wrong? The girl said a lot was wrong. Mama didn't want to notice. Turns out, mama had been molested herself. I know a lot about that topic. I'm doing a film called Molested That Way, about the effects of child molestation on adults, and it's devastating. So, usually, more women, for some reason, get into situations where this happens to their children, or they actually allow it to happen. And when the child tells them, they don't want to hear it, they don't want to believe it, they don't want to lose the man. They tell the child they're lying, which is the most bizarre thing to me. They don't want to accept it. How does your daughter tell you that your man is messing with them and you not hear it? Are you kidding me? Give the child the benefit of the doubt, absolutely. Believe it above everything, just in case. That is a lifetime of pain. Most of these strippers, these ratchet girls, these out-of-control people, somebody touched them. And that's where the out-of-control came from. Protect your children. Live a life, but watch. Listen. Talk to your children. Tell them that if anything ever happens to them, it's okay to talk to you about it. Encourage them to. If you see them changing, see them withdrawn, you see them not wanting to be around somebody when you leave, or their energy change when somebody walks into the room. They're not just being weird. They're not just kids. It's not they're just growing up. And there's something often wrong. And your job is to protect your children. The job of protection is primarily a male job, a man's job, a father's job, a husband's job. But when these men are missing, then yes, mother has to open up her capacity and be a little more diligent to try to protect her children. And it's hard work. And it's also hard work emotionally if it's somebody that you love and you're just not sure what to do, not sure how to feel, not sure if what you think is happening or what your child tried to tell you is happening is really happening. The mind has a denial mechanism at times. You have to look out for your child and give them the benefit of the doubt. Is there another caller that wants to call in to LA Talk Live and talk about some stuff? It works better when you call in. It's a call-in show. Let's see. Another issue while we're waiting on a call. I've been noticing a lot of fighting. I kind of hit on it last week. Is it ever okay for a male, be it a boy or a man, to put his hands on a woman? A lot of women say it's not. Not under any circumstance, not for any reason is it okay for a man to put his hands on a woman. She's smaller, she's weaker. Oh, here's a call. Somebody doesn't want to hear me talk about that. Okay, taking this call.
Boy or man.
Hello.
Put it on a woman.
You're on
Hello,
with...
dear.
A lot of women say it's
Oh,
not.
hi.
Not
Let me
under
turn
any
down my radio.
Yes, you need to turn down your radio.
Okay. I have a question for you about your one show. You said that in your family there has not been, the fathers have always been there as far back as
1825.
18 when?
1825.
1825. That's what I found fascinating, that you would actually know that, because my curiosity is how do you know that? Did you take it upon yourself to research into your ancestry, or has that been a story, that's been passed down from generation to generation?
Interestingly, my family did a family tree, and they dug up everybody from here to as far back as recorded history would take them, and they got back to about 1825.
1820. It's just fascinating. That's what because especially for a person of African American descent, because
Yeah.
Their history was torn from them, basically.
Yeah.
So, and I'm always telling my friends who are black, I tell them, it's sort of like they're resisting. Some of them, not all of them, of course, but
Right.
some maybe don't want to know because of such a tragic history we have in the United States regarding that. Maybe many were from slavery, but I don't know. But I think that's one of the ways that the black community could heal.
Absolutely.
Not fully, but one. I'm searching for words here. One way one of the many ways that could try to make things better. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was blown away by it. I was very proud. I mean, the pride.
Exactly.
And I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or saying I'm better than, but just to know I've got a legacy of fathers. My father was raised by a father who was raised by a father who was raised by a father. So whatever this man thing is, it's been intact as long as we can trace it back. So I don't have that sense of who is my father? Where is my father? Will I see my father? Does my father love me? What does he look like? What does he think like? I know how to fix things. I know how to interact with the woman as a husband. I know how to endure a whole bunch of stuff you don't want to, because I watched my father do it. I watched him be patient because my mother was a nag, to be quite honest. That was her way of dealing with things. And she could go. I mean, she would go for hours. And I watched, and I used to keep score on who I felt was doing it right and who was doing it wrong. But I appreciate having that balance to give me a balanced set of tools. And even when things aren't perfect, a child still gets a lot of messages and a lot of data from that. But my father has never cussed my mother out. I haven't heard him cuss yet. He's never hit her. He's never been brutal. Now, he tore my butt up the old-fashioned way with the belt, but I never got punched in the face or thrown across the room. He was a classical, traditional African-American father in the 60s. And I say I'm a 1960s style man because that's the man that embedded himself into me at that point in my life. I was born in 59. And that 10 years between 59 and 69 is what set me. And I understand how those first few years are so important in a child's life because that sets their foundation. Because as they get older, they start to get their own mind and they start to develop their own character, who they want to be and who they feel they're going to be. But that's based on what they got as that foundation. That's the reason when you build a house, the foundation is extremely important, because that,
even learning to control one's anger, which I guess in men is supposedly maybe more natural for them to want to fight or whatever. I think a father is there also to teach them, yes, I know you want it. Sometimes you'll see a woman and she talks back to you and you feel like you want to, hit her or something, but being a real man is learning to have the strength to not hit her. It's probably even harder, because we've got, sometimes I guess women say things. Let's not get into that anyway. But, well, it's just fascinating. And I think that if you talk about how you look into your history and, and hopefully more people will do it, even myself. My brother did that for our family.
Well, it's a lot easier when the men were actually there. And it's a lot harder when they weren't, because if you can't find your father, it's very difficult to find out much about his family.
Right. Because it goes by the last name of the father, I guess.
Right, but if you can't find him to talk to him and really get into his life, then you kind of short-circuit it. Like, not only do we know everybody's name, we know what they did, what kind of work they did, how many kids they had, what all the kids' names were. We know the whole thing because they were there.
Yeah,
and it's very easy to make a family tree when the family was intact. A broken family is a very sick tree. And I feel like it was a blessing and a gift from God, to be able to say, the reason I'm the man I am now, the reason I know my responsibility with my children is because my father taught me, because I say it's the Alexander family tradition to father your children. My children are 6 years old, twin boys. They have more man in them than a lot of 30-year-olds do. They come to me all the time and say, I want to grow up and be a man like you and have a family and take care of my kids.
Yeah.
And at 6 years old, they love kids because they feel the love from me to them, and it feels normal to them. So they're going to cleave to a woman and want to raise their children because it's embedded.
Right, and that does make things better in general in society, when you've got two parents.
Yeah.
But,
and when a man walks away, his son can very easily walk away because he feels like, my mother raised me without a man, so she can raise my child without a man. They very easily walk away. A lot of men hit because what most people don't realize, even though men get the label of being violent, 75% of domestic violence, the women actually hit first. Not saying that it hurts, but they'll slap or they'll push or they'll shove, and that can be a trigger for a much bigger response. But women usually hit first. And now the police are saying that more women are arrested for domestic violence than men are because they do hit first. Because they get mad and they feel like because he's bigger, I'm going to punch him. Most men won't hit back, but some do, which is what I was going to get into earlier. But, a lot of men have a female emotional print, and they don't conduct themselves in a manly fashion when they have a conflict. They break down and cry, or they get violent because they're following the patterns of women, which is more emotional. And men control their emotions because if it's a proper man, he's going to use his logic and say, what should I do in this situation? If he's not reared right, if he's not cut right, he's going to just go into emotional mode, and that could be anything. And that's what women are dealing with now, and they're dealing with today's men.
There wasn't someone there to teach him how to deal with the emotions.
To teach him that men don't do that. That's not what a man does.
That's okay. Well, anyway, I really love your show.
Well, thank you very much. And I really appreciate the call.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye. Yes, fathers must teach their sons how to be men. Got to. Fathers have got to teach their sons how to be men. Mothers do not give man lessons. They can give clean your body lessons, clean your room lessons, how to make some food lessons, how to be polite lessons. But a man is in here. It's in here. It's a whole different thing. It's not just, let's see. I'm getting a message here. Let's see. That's this one, right? Okay. I'm sorry. I had a message off camera I was responding to. I'm doing my own boards. I'm learning how to get this technical thing right. So excuse me if I make a few errors here. Anyway, men are absolutely important. They're not options. They're not, I don't need a man. Yes, you need a man for your child, even if you don't need that man for you. Hear that again. You need a man for that child, even if you don't need that man for you. Your needs and the child's needs don't always align up. A child needs male energy, preferably a father who is a husband, so everybody can have one name and feel like what they used to call a nuclear family because it came from one nucleus. We were all Alexanders. Nobody in the house had a different name. None of my cousins on my father's side had a different name. None of them. Not one. Everybody was born into a married family, and those families stayed together. If you don't have that, it's not the end of the world. Male energy is still male energy. It feels different. It gives a different set of instructions. There's two kinds of male energy. Well, it's more than two kinds, but I mean, there's bad male energy, gangbangers, losers, lazy guys, can't keep a job, very negative male energy. Then there's good male energy, which is balance, giving, sincere, dedicated, focused, strong, leading, guiding. That male energy can come from, like I said, preferably the actual father, a stepfather, uncle, grandfather, brother, friend, boyfriend, preacher, coach. Not Jerry Sandusky, but there are some great coaches that have made huge influences in children's lives. Most coaches are working with those children not for money, but out of love. They care about children. They like the energy. They believe in the classic exercise of good sporting activity. So make sure that you get some programs where your sons are provided male energy. So they learn what men do, how men think. And they're not stuck at the hair salon and nail salon all day long on Saturday, sitting there with mama, playing a game on an iPad or an Android or something while mama's getting her hair done for 4 hours. They have to take in all that female energy and hear all those conversations about women's issues and how men are failing. That's not good. Somebody told me about a boy that went through that, and the problems he's having are scary. And that also contributes to why so many of our young boys and young men are very effeminate these days, because they don't have male energy. If you don't have male energy, what else can you be except a product of female energy? Why did they have to make a rule at Morehouse College that the male students at that prestigious, historically black university can't wear pumps? They shouldn't have had to make that a rule. It's kind of crazy. But they did, because that's what the young guys wanted to do. They wanted to wear pumps. I guess mom had some really nice shoes throughout their developmental years. And they grew up and they wanted to be a man like their mother. I've heard this said as a compliment. I want to grow up to be a man just like my mother. That doesn't sound right. Nothing about that sounds right. Nope, you don't grow up and be a man like your mother. You don't model your manhood after your mother. She has a period. She has breasts. She has a different emotional constitution. She's looking for a strong man to lead her, even though she will stand in as a proxy and declare her strength and do a great job. She's not a man. And men have to give something back. If there's a neighbor's kid down the block, and he doesn't have a father and he's a good kid, and you can deal with him, let him come by and spend some time in your house. When you have a project, make him a part of the project. Sometimes get some of the neighborhood boys and take them someplace. implant little seeds that you'd be surprised how much they can grow, how much an interaction that doesn't seem like it's that big a deal to you can affect a boy for the rest of his life. I've met men who told me the pivotal moment where they had a certain interaction with a man, and they said that changed my whole way of seeing things. And because of that man, because of that day, because of that incident, it changed my life. We have that much power as men. I know some boys who have been around me, their mothers tell me months later, years later, they ask about you all the time. I'm like, really? All they talk about is going over to see Mr. Tim. Wow. Me? All I did was played with them, bounce them around a few times. They love you. I notice how kids look at a man with awe and amazement because they're not around one, or sometimes the men that they're around can care less about them. They don't want to play with them and talk to them. They're not interested in them. They're interested in their mother. That's not the kind of male energy you want for your children. You want a man who has enough capacity of love and enough balance, enough maturity, enough of everything that it takes to look at you and your child as a unit, as a desirable package, and step up and make up for what's missing. And also, as parents, we have to learn to share. A lot of people have a baby daddy-in-law and a baby mama-in-law. What's that? If I have a baby with this woman and she already had a baby with that man, we're related by blood. This child has my blood and her blood, and this child has her blood and his blood. Interestingly, I can't go to war with this guy over here just because he was there first. He's her baby's father. He's active in his own child's life. When he's not there, then I'm going to step in and be a stand-in dad and help raise his child with just as much love as I would help raise my child. And now he and I have to be partners in this community, in this village of that home, of that child's life to help raise that child. Women, stop going to war with your baby mama-in-law because you don't like her. Because what? I can understand sometimes they may throw a little shade, make life a little miserable. Sometimes you wonder if there's some stuff going on. But we have to create community families now because we don't have nuclear families. We have to make complicated chains of connecting families. And those chains can sometimes run kind of deep and wide. Depends on how many different men one woman makes a baby with. Depends on how many different women one man makes babies with. One man has 5, 6, 7 baby mamas. One woman has 3, 4 different baby daddies. That's a lot of connecting. But we have to look out for what is the best interest of these children going forward so we can have a better tomorrow. Our tomorrow is only going to be as good as the quality of children that we raise. They can't raise themselves. They're relying on us to do it. Even when they don't like what we do, they have to deal with it. Sometimes they don't like what we do that's positive and important for them. Sometimes they don't like what we do because we're not doing it right. Either way, we have to step up. And if we don't, the world we have coming in the next 20 years is going to be really bad. Yeah, really bad. So, any other callers? Or I'll keep talking. I like callers because callers give me something to focus on, and it's nice to hear people's voice and know that people are wanting to connect. The number's on the screen. And let me see if I can see it there. 323-473-3100. It's right under my image if you're on looking at the page here. Let's see. Okay, anyway, earlier I was talking about hitting. There are a lot of females, girls, women, we'll just say females, covers both categories, that are hitting men. Not a good practice. Men are bigger. Men are stronger. We all know this. But they'll hit men on the assumption, on the grounds of he is not supposed to hit them back. That's good in theory. And I don't know where the rule got written, but that's the common understanding that a man is never, under any circumstances, just on the sake of gender, he's not supposed to hit her back. No matter what he does, she does. He's supposed to be a good man and be strong and control himself. And if he's a good man, he's supposed to walk away and not let his ego get involved. She slapped you, she hit you, she punched you. So what? That works when a man is raised by a good man and has real man values. It doesn't work so well when the man, male, let's call him a male, wasn't raised that well and was raised in a house where maybe he saw his mother fighting like a world star hip hop warrior. A monkey, a chimpanzee, should not go and slap a gorilla. Just not a good idea. Gorilla's way bigger, way stronger. A gorilla and a monkey in a fight is usually not going to end in the monkey's favor. Men are bigger and stronger. Do not strike them, ladies. Do not strike them. If you're at the club and they smack you on the butt, you can get mad, say a few choice words. The main thing to do is get over and find the bouncer, tell the bouncer what happened, and say one of his club patrons was out of order. But don't hit a man. If he hits you back, it ain't going to be good. So we all should keep our hands to ourselves. No, men absolutely should not hit women. But women are not playing by that rule. And women today, they hit a lot harder. They hit a lot more frequently. And sometimes some men snap. And then there's another thing. Sometimes some men actually do need to defend themselves. I've seen men jumped by a group of women. I've seen women hit men really hard, repeatedly, and even when they try to get away, try to make them stop, try to restrain them, they insist on giving them a beat down because they think they can get away with it. And at some point, it actually switches over to legitimate self-defense. And then when these men do defend themselves, the interesting thing is everyone watched the woman attacking the man. I was just looking at a video today on Facebook. Everyone's looking at this female attacking this male, and they're doing nothing. And once he stands up to defend himself because she was beating him in the face repeatedly, he asked her to stop, tried to hold her, tried to push her off, and she just kept beating and beating and beating and just abusing the man. When he did something to defend himself, other women jumped in and even males jumped in. Even with all that, he taught her a lesson, and it was indeed her fault. So I can't impress on women enough to not hit men. That's it. You can't get hit back if you don't hit first. If you don't hit first and a man comes and hits you, then he's dead wrong all by himself. He should be dealt with as such. He should catch a beat down. He should go to jail. All that stuff that makes it feel better. But if you hit him first, then it's kind of an interesting situation. Now we got to decide at what point, who provoked who, what was fair, what wasn't fair. Was it defense or was it abuse? And I've seen men defend themselves enough to get the woman off of them, but not just punish her and beat her down just because he's angry. It's a difference. So, we have to watch them. We have to teach our daughters. Men are not something that you hit because you're mad. It's just not something that's a good practice. So that's very important. And We also have to teach our boys, of course, not to hit women. But at what point do we teach them not to allow themselves to be hurt by a woman? At what point should they protect themselves? I saw another video of a group of girls who were beating a girl into the ground, like 5, 6 girls beating the crap out of this girl. Her boyfriend came out, her man, husband, boyfriend, I guess he was a boyfriend, came out and saw it. He went to war, took 3 of the girls, tagged them right in the jaw, boom, boom, boom. I mean, came in like Simba the lion to protect his woman. I posted it and expect people to say, oh, a man should never hit a woman. 100% cheered and agreed he absolutely did what he was supposed to do. I guess because no woman wants to think she's going to get a beat down and her man can't step in and protect her. But everyone said that those girls were lucky they got off as easy as he let them off. He smacked them hard. 1 punch here, 2 punches there, 3 punches there, and he stepped back and looked to see if anybody else wanted to come get some. He didn't abuse them. He didn't just beat him and beat him and beat him like he probably felt like. He handled it correctly. He handled it like a real man who said, you are not going to hurt the person I love. Even if you're a female, I'm not going to let this happen. So, other topics. While I'm waiting on a phone call. Nobody's calling in today. Somebody needs to call in. Let's see. Other issues. Boys in school. They're failing. Why are more males diagnosed with ADD and ADHD? Why are not only black men under-enrolled under black females, even white men for the first time have less college enrollment than white women? Why are men failing in schools when originally the schools were built by men and most of the students were men? Simple answers. Women are seen by everyone from their mother to their teachers, who are often female, who are often single mothers, as tomorrow's future single mothers. And boys are seen as just rambunctious energy and a problem. When you have a school that only has one male teacher in the whole grade school, as I've heard of more than once, everybody sees men as the oddity, the different thing that doesn't fit with everything else. Teaching is becoming a womanly profession. At one point in history, there was a lot of noise made about the first female teacher because all teachers started out as men. And their teaching style accommodates women well and girls well because they understand them and the energy is the same, but it doesn't accommodate boys well. Boys get rambunctious, they get bored. Women multitask, boys single focus. And their teaching style does not hold the boys' interest the same way. And they see his rambunctiousness as just being unruly and disruptive to the classroom. And they don't know how to channel it. So, we need more male teachers. Not just in the home, but also in the classroom. A lot of teachers teach very feminized lessons. They'll have the whole class do a work assignment that deals with a princess wearing pink and fairies and things that girls like. And the boys are like, okay, all right, what the heck is this? Okay, I guess I have to do it as the assignment. They don't give them, here, girls, you do this, boys, you work on this. They give them the same thing. And they're socializing boys to be interested in things that girls do. They are bringing dolls to class and making them a part of class assignments. They're now making the bathrooms co-ed for some strange reason. I don't know what the real reason for some of these frivolous things they're doing in schools are, but it's not working for our boys. You don't have a father at home. You don't have a male teacher in the school. You really don't come in contact with men. And then when you look at television, most of the men you see are idiots, losers, bad boys, players, everything except the example of what you're looking for, which is what am I supposed to be when I grow up to be a man? There's almost no place for the average child between 8 and 16 in their limited scope of going to school and going home, maybe looking at TV, roaming around the internet. Where are they going to find good men? Unless their mother happens to bring one home and he wants to enter into their life. It's hard. And we're going to continue to fail as a people, as a culture, as a planet, as families, and as individuals. There's nothing to replenish what's missing in the way our society is functioning and the way it's going. I sound like a broken record, but we have to look at these things because we're going to have to face these things. It's inevitable. There are many strong cultures and societies that melted down. You know, Rome was great at one point. So was Greece, Egypt, Spain. They're no longer what they used to be. It reaches a point where it melts down. And our society is reaching a point where it's melting down. It's not the same thing that it used to be. We have to get men involved in children's lives. Both parents are equally as important. I may sound like I'm saying fathers are more important. I'm just saying they're important for different reasons. And since they're underappreciated in society, in the media, at home, in their children's lives, as parents, I have to build them up. I have to say how important they are. So women will understand how important a man is to her child. And when she has a man who wants to be in his child's life, but she's mad at him because things didn't work out, because he cheated, because he moved on with his life, that she's not bitter and keeps the man out of the child's life to be vindictive against him, ruining the child. So women need to learn how important men are. Men need to learn how important men are so they can walk and stand in their most valuable way, which is to help raise, rear, and give to the life of their children and children in general. So men need to be built up. We can't keep tearing them down and saying black men are no good and don't take care of their kids and not work against their ability to be what we all need them to be. Children need to understand that fathers are important because all of us were children and now some of us are adults that still has a broken child inside. And until you realize that you need your father and can forgive him and get past the fact that you felt he wasn't there, you're never going to be able to heal. Another caller.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, I'm listening. Sorry, I must be on delay.
You're on.
Hi. I'm very excited that you accepted the call. I have a question.
What is that question?
I've been married 27 years.
Wow. Good.
And when we speak of relationship, having the male relationship, let me just turn this thing off. Maybe that'll help. My dad died about a year ago, and my dad was 85. My uncle died about 6 months ago. I've always had male figures in my life. This has been really difficult for me in the last 6 months. I guess my question is, not necessarily the question, but to inform the black male how important, and I'm 52, how important they are to us. I miss them dearly, and I'm nervous because I guess I'm on air, but
oh no, just talk to me. Just
transitioning to a nursing home, just to have that senior around is difficult, but it helps. But I just want to inform the African American male how important they are, not only rearing us, raising us as a black female. They
Wow.
are to us, at least to me.
Thank
And I
you.
miss my relatives and my father so much. So that's basically it. And I just want to listen. I don't
Well, thank
prefer
you.
listening.
Even at 52, that father figure in your father and your uncle is still just as important. And that's quite a testament that a lot of people don't realize. You know, the painful thing is not only don't most of our children today have a father, most of them don't have an active grandfather either because their mother didn't have a father. They don't have uncles that have value because their uncles are too irresponsible to care about their nephews in a lot of cases, running the streets, sometime in and out of jail, sometimes just not having much value. And that thing that means so much to you to the point where it even hurts at 52 when you don't have it, and you seek it to the point where you want to go to a senior citizen home just to feel that mature energy. Some children have pretty much never had it. And then we wonder what's wrong with society. You said something very
Wow.
powerful. And you understand, imagine how your life would be. Try, as hard as it is, to imagine what would you be if you never had those two men in your life at all.
Oh, God. Oh, excuse me. Oh, God.
Would
I
you
can't.
have
I
been
mean, I'm tearing up because I can't even imagine.
would you have
It's
been
not
a
even.
woman who was capable of being married to the same man for 21 years if you didn't have a father and an uncle like the one you had? Would that have been possible?
Oh, God. And I'm married, and I love my husband and everything, but it's just that peace that I'm just like, oh, God, it's just nothing like it. And I tell you,
What you're hearing right
so
now
important.
is you're
I'm
hearing a
sorry.
woman who knows what her father is. She knows the love of a father, and it will take her until the day she dies.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what all children deserve. They should feel emotional thinking about what their father meant to them, their uncles, those men who taught them about life, about love, about
yeah,
balance, about responsibility, who protected them, who guided them, who exposed them to a world that they never would have known because mama doesn't teach those lessons. That's what it
right.
feels like when you have that security. You're hearing it in her voice. It
Yes.
molded who she is in life. There are a lot of people who have never been molded into anything. All they do is go to the club, party, and try to get laid. It's a placebo for not having anything inside.
Oh, thank you so much for hearing me.
And I
I'm enjoying
appreciate
the
you
show, and
sharing.
I'm sorry for breaking,
No, it's
but
fine.
it
It's
really,
fine.
I feel better,
It's
really.
fine. But I appreciate you sharing with the world as a 52-year-old mature woman how much your father meant to you. A
Oh, yeah.
lot of people it never crosses their mind. There are women right now in the sound of our voices who have men who actively want to be in their children's lives, and because they're mad at them, I know men who've told me they haven't seen their children in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. No matter what they do, they go to the courts, and nothing they do can alleviate their pain because somehow or another, women are allowed to sever these relationships between the children and the fathers and talk bad about the fathers until the children. I've heard children say, "I hate my father." I'm like, "You ever met him?" "No, I don't know nothing about him. I just hate him. He didn't pay his child support, and he didn't." What do you know about him not paying his child support? What was your mother saying to you? And so often, another situation where a woman will have a baby with a man, and she's mad at that man because he doesn't come see his children, but this same man has gone and gotten married, and he's a perfect father for his children with this new woman, or he's with a woman and a perfect father to her children, even if they're not his children, but not her children. They never stop to think, how do you talk to that man? How much do you disrespect him and say disrespectful things out of your anger to him to the point where he doesn't want to deal with you or his child because he doesn't want to deal with you? That happens. I'm not saying that's the case all the time. I'm not talking for everybody's situation. I'm just saying the situations that are like that. Learn how to try to be whatever you need to be to make sure you can keep your child's father in your child's life. He didn't pay his child support. Maybe his job isn't what it used to be. Maybe he's got some other things that he's going through. Maybe he's trifling. Should you really take him out of your child's life because you didn't get a check? Do you think the child cares? What's really more important? I'm going to hold this child hostage from you because you didn't pay your child support. You're ruining your child's life. Somehow or another, they must be eating. Never sever a relationship between a father and his children unless it's the most extreme of circumstances where he's very abusive and there's something really, really bad going on. Anything short of that, don't do it. If your child's not in danger, physical, emotional danger when they're with him, he needs to be there. The caller who called at the top of the show, the woman who's going through all those things with her baby's father, that guy's not a good guy. But even still, she was able to say that he provides some positive things for his son. He teaches him to ride horses. He teaches him about the movie industry that he works in. So, it's important that we try to keep fathers in children's lives. Here's another caller. Hello. How are you? Can you turn your radio off, please?
Hello?
Hi. Can you turn your radio off, please? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. This is Marina.
Marina, hey, Marina.
I'm on your Facebook.
Hey, Marina. Marina from my Facebook. Hi. Hi, Marina.
Hi. I was trying to call in earlier, but I think I had the wrong number. But
okay.
This is a great topic you're speaking on, and I just wanted to share some light on my situation. And I have a son who's 28 years old.
Okay.
And granted, he was born with sickle cell, and his father was 7 years older than me. And we chose to separate early on in our relationship about 4 years after my son was born, and he was diagnosed with sickle cell, which was somewhat trying for both of us. I knew that I didn't want to bear any more children, and at the time, we weren't married. But we both agreed that he would be involved in our son's life throughout his life.
Right.
And it's had such an impact on my son. My son's got his BA degree. I mean, he loves his dad. He was very much involved in his son's life growing up. The challenging part, for me, was at some point, I never sued him for child support or anything like that. I was a very independent woman, self-absorbed, didn't feel I needed a man for anything, which was a wrong way to perceive things, but that's how I was at the time. So money was never an issue for me. It was most important that he had his father involved in his life. When I was young, I was 20, 23, 24 years old at the time. But the point I want to make is that people so often, women, and I've seen it in friends of mine who have let this money thing become such an important that they will not only destroy the lives of their children, but destroy the lives of a man. The black man has it so hard as it is anyway, with stereotypes and everything that's out there.
Yeah.
So for us as women to even make it more challenging, God, there's so much I want to say in such a short period of time, but
yeah. Well, we're at the end of the show.
I chose for myself to, not put that burden on his father. Just be there for your son. That was the most important thing for me.
Exactly.
And it's made all the difference in my son's life. I mean, he is a wonderful man, never been in trouble, seeks the Lord. He loves life. He's dealt with sickle cell, and he gives so much back to society. And I know it has a lot to do with his father being involved in his life.
Absolutely. I'm at the end of the show, and I so appreciate what you just said. I want to thank you. I want to thank all the callers for calling in today and supporting this show. You brought up great points, great topics. I need more calls. I need lots of nonstop calls. But what we just heard in the last two calls was maturity speaking. We had one saying how much she appreciated her father, And we had one right behind her saying how much she appreciated her son's father. She didn't understand that when she was younger. But still, she managed to do pretty good and make the right moves, even though she was stuck on I'm independent, I'm everything. She realized later on, without that man there, she would have crippled her son's growth into blossoming into the balanced person that he is. It takes two to make them, people, and it takes two to raise them. This part and this part give completely different sets of instructions. And together, as a unit, even if it's not equal time or in the same house, it still has a positive effect on the children when they get both sets of instructions from a male energy and a female energy. They're very different, but they're equally as important and equally as necessary. So, this is Daddy Tim. This was my third What Would My Daddy Say show. And I appreciate you checking in to hear what Daddy had to say about all these different topics. And I'll be back next week on Thursday to say more. And it's all in love, and it's all in us trying to be better people for our children, for a better tomorrow. So thanks a lot for checking in and being a part of the show. And it's time for me to leave. Goodbye.